Okay, so let's Command Tab out of Premiere Pro. In this folder, I have some stock footage clips that I filmed, as well as some music that I created. In our bottom window, we have our folder where I'm recording this video course in. In order to edit efficiently, it's very important to have an organized folder structure. So I will walk you through how I was trained in the film industry with how my folder structure should be, and if you prefer to use a different way, that's totally fine, but this is the way I was trained. The way I do it is we have a main folder, which is called the project that you're working on, so video editing course. You can ignore the recordings window, so I'll just gray that out for now. Now inside I've created a Premiere Pro folder. That is where I've saved this Premiere Pro project. Now I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Okay, so inside this folder, we will have a music folder. We will have a footage folder. We will have a projects folder. Inside our projects folder will be our Premiere Pro folder, which is where our Premiere Pro project exists. Inside footage will be all of our footage, so let's highlight them all. So we can either click and drag them all, or click, hold shift, click the top, then either right click and go to copy, or Command C, and then inside footage double click, and either right click and paste or Command V. Okay, so now we are copying over all of the stock footage clips that I filmed. The resolutions can be any size. However, there is a standard when it comes to the resolutions that the world has adopted. For example, on YouTube, when selecting the quality of the video, you can see various options that the video can be played in. These are all different resolutions. If the uploader added a video to their channel in full HD resolution, then in the quality settings, you would be able to choose 1920 by 1080 or 1080p. YouTube will automatically create all of the smaller standard resolutions, such as 720p, 480p, and so on. 1920 by 1080 resolutions have an aspect ratio of 16:9, where 16 represents the width ratio, 1920, compared to 9, the height ratio, 1080. So HD footage has a width of 1920 pixels and a height of 1080 pixels. Going higher than HD resolution, you will have UHD and DCI 4K. UHD, ultra high definition, is intended for television viewing and has a frame size of 3840 by 2160. This resolution is a direct multiple of 1920 by 1080 and therefore has a 16:9 aspect ratio. DCI 4K, Digital Cinema Initiatives 4K, has been the film industry's standard resolution. DCI 4K has a resolution of 4096 by 2160, making it have an aspect ratio of 256 by 135, which is a little wider than UHD. A sequence refers to the area in an editing program where the editing will take place, such as the trimming of clips, the clip order, the footage audio, and music. Different programs have different names for a sequence. For example, in Adobe After Effects, they refer to a sequence as being a composition. In other programs, it may be called a timeline. In any case, it means the same thing. It is a panel window in the program where the actual editing is completed. A sequence will have several different layers or tracks that are the placeholders for your footage or audio, and as needed, you can add or remove the tracks. Typically, when a new sequence is created, there will be 1 or 2 video tracks as well as a few audio tracks so that you can immediately start inserting clips or audio files to begin your edit. To square, which is 1.0, which means each pixel is as wide as it is tall, so it's square. That creates our 16:9 ratio, which is what we want for high definition footage. We want a progressive scan. Display format, 23.976, that's great. Audio, 48 is fine. Video previews, now this depends on your system. I like to use QuickTime, and then I like to use H.264. And the width is 1920 by 1080. Now you don't need to select maximum bit depth or maximum render quality. You can do that, but this is all previews, so it won't affect the actual export of your project. To save our 1920 by 1080 preset, we go to Save Preset. We'll call it 1080p for progressive. And then we will call it 23.976. Now we can add some more details if we'd like, but for now it's fine. We will go to OK. And now once it loads, you will notice that at the bottom it creates a custom folder with our new preset created. From here we can create new presets if we want. So for our purposes, let's just create them all right now. We'll click on this, we'll go to Settings. Everything will be the same, we can just work off this. So frame size, right now we'll create a 720p one, which is higher than standard definition quality, but lower than full HD. So frame size will be 1280, and this will be 720. So we have 1280 pixels wide by 720 tall. Aspect ratio will be the same, and now you notice because we've changed this has also been changed. So let's go to Save Preset. We'll call this one 720p 23.976. And once again, once it loads, in the custom folder, you will see the 720p preset. Okay, so now all of these will stay the same for 4K, except for the frame size, which will be changed to 2160 by 3840. And you'll notice that this hasn't been changed to the full 4K resolution. It's because we have H.264 selected. We need to have something else selected because this is the maximum that we can use with H.264 in our video previews. So in order to change it, let's go to Animation or Apple ProRes. So we'll go Apple ProRes 422 HQ, and then we'll be able to enter in what we'd like. 3840 by 2160. Okay, so let's save the preset. We'll call this, we can either call it 4K HD or 2160p. So I like to use 4K HD 23.976. Okay, now we will create a standard definition preset. Okay, so let's change our vertical to 480. And now with a square pixel aspect ratio, we can set this to 640. Now, some people like to set it up as NTSC 0.9. If you do that, then you'll need to change this to 720 to maintain this. It does the exact same thing. It's just using a different pixel aspect ratio. So I like to keep things always square, so 640. Let's go to Save Preset. We'll call it 480p 23.976. If your footage is a different frame rate, such as 29 or 30, then it's as simple as going to Settings and changing your time base to whichever frame rate you'd like to work with. For us, we will be working with HD footage, so we will click on 1080p, click OK, and now you'll see that in our timeline, our sequence has been created. Okay, we can go into our project window, click on our sequence that we just created, press Enter, and then give it a name. You can call it whatever you'd like. For our purposes, we will just call it 1080p Edit. And you've noticed that the change here has happened. In this lesson, we will talk about importing footage and maintaining an organized folder structure inside Premiere Pro, exactly the same as what we created in an earlier lesson in our Finder window. Up here in our project panel window, this is where we will be importing all of our footage. There are several different ways of importing footage, so I'll walk you through a few of them. The first being File, Import. The next, we can go right-click, Import, or what I like to do is simply double-click here. So you left-click twice, and our import window will open up. Then we can navigate to our video editing course, into our footage, and we can bring in all of our footage. We'll click the top, hold Shift, click the bottom, and then all at once we can import all of our footage. Premiere Pro will analyze all the content and begin importing it into our project panel window. Now Premiere Pro has loaded everything inside the project panel window. Now we can begin to organize. And down here there is a new bin. This just means a folder, just like in your Finder window on your desktop. So let's click on the icon and drag into the new bin. Now it's ready for us to start typing a name. So this is our footage folder, and on our desktop we named it footage. So we will do the exact same thing. Footage. Let's close that up. We can create a new folder. We'll call this one music. Another way of importing is you can go to Command Tab over to our Finder window. We can select all the music that we want to import. We can click and hold and then Command Tab back into Premiere Pro while holding, and then let go into the music folder. Now we have music inside here, and we have footage inside here. If we go to our Finder folder, you'll see that we have images, projects, music, and footage. Now because we don't have any images, we won't create that folder, and we don't need to create a projects folder because this is just our project file for Premiere. Things that we need to import are music and footage because we will be working with those. Okay, let's go to Premiere, which is Command Tab. If we open up our footage folder and leave the mouse on one of the items, we can see a few other details. If we click and drag here to expand that panel window, you can see a few other details here. And if we use the scroll bar here, we can find a lot of other information such as media start, media end, duration, in point, out point, and some more video information. Over here, right now we have it listed as list view. We can also use the icon view. This way, if you're inside the footage folder, for example, it'll show you thumbnails of the footage. If you leave your mouse over one and drag without clicking, you can actually watch a preview of the footage, which is nice. If you know the specific name of your footage, you can click and find it, such as, let's try wide view, and then it finds it very quickly for you. Let's close that. Let's open that up. We see the audio picture showing the waveform, which is a visual presentation that these are audio files that do not have video. We can search by name if we'd like. We can create more bins. So you understand, if we create a bin in here and close it, it's still, and go back to the list view, it still gets created in here. It's just when you double click it, it just opens up another window so that it's easier to see what you're doing rather than doing everything in the one window. We don't need this, so what we can do is either press delete on the keyboard, or we can press this button here. Okay, so there's a few other options. We can make everything larger if we'd like. Same goes with this. Okay, so if we wanted to create a new item, for example, we could click here, and then we can create a new sequence and a whole bunch of other options. That is the same thing as if we right-clicked and went to a new item. Having all the assets in your project imported and organized into folders is a very, very efficient way of editing, and I would highly recommend always creating your footage folders that match how you have it set up on your desktop or on your hard drive. If you have a project you're working on and 6 months later you need to hand it off to somebody else, it makes it very easy if everything is already organized inside one folder, and then inside Premiere it's the exact same way. Another reason why it's important to have everything organized into folders is if you're working with multiple different cameras and cards, inside your footage folder, you would have card 1, you could have card 2. If you have multiple days, you could have day 1, and inside day 1 you'd have card 1, card 2, card 3, and so on. And then inside Premiere Pro, it would look exactly the same. You'd have a footage folder, you'd have day 1, day 2, inside day 1 you'd have card 1, card 2, and so on. Having this match how it is set up on your desktop or on your hard drive is extremely important. For example, let's click this clip and we'll hold Command, we'll click this clip and this clip. We will right click and we will make offline. That means that this footage isn't inside Premiere Pro and Premiere Pro does not know where it is. In order to find those, we can, because it's in the same folder on our desktop or in our hard drive, we can right click, we will link media, we will click and drag to make it a little larger, we will locate the footage, display only exact name matches to just finding the one, we will click OK, and then this footage has been found. Now for the other ones, simply click that, click on this, right click, go to link media, locate, it found one of them, you click OK, and then now both are online. Because it's in the same folder, it found both of them very easily. Okay, so let's bring this panel back and make our program monitor a little larger.